What's going on, everybody? It's Cooper. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast is proudly brought to you by Midwest Meals. We are getting into fall season, full effect. And if you're from the Midwest, you know what that means. And I see people posting about it on the socials all the time. Ooh, it's crock pot season. It's time to eat crap. This is where the train derails, people. I'm not saying don't make crock pot meals. It's not what I'm saying. Make it a part of your repertoire. But if you start that vicious cycle of eating like crap now, then New Year's rolls around and you're like, oh, damn, now I got to make that resolution. And then what happens? Your resolution falls off by the end of January. Keep it on the tracks, people. MidwestMeals.com. They have 12 rotating meals you can pick and choose. Add to your cart, add to your meal plan. You can also build a meal. My favorite, the 4-ounce chicken build-a-meal with broccoli and loaded mashed potatoes with barbecue sauce from our friends at Chip Magnet Salsa. So you can have those crock pot meals. Maybe save them for a football Sunday. But then the rest of the week, get after it with quick, easy, and clean eating meals with all your macros and your calorie count on there, and keep yourself on the track. Go to MidwestMeals.com and get 10% off your first order. The promo code is Cooper at checkout, #MidwestFitFam. Podcast also brought to you by Violent Gentlemen Hockey Club. Hockey season in full effect. You want to gear up. You want to look like you know what you're doing. Join the badass revolution at violentgentlemen.com for all your hockey swag. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies. Yeah, it's hoodie weather. I'm looking at you. Hats and flags, everything you need to show your enthusiasm for the sport. And also that you're a badass. violentgentlemen.com. Promo code is Cooperville15 to get 15% off that first order of Violent Gentlemen gear. Monster Energy, of course, bringing you the Welcome to Cooperville podcast, whether it's Monster Ultra, whether it's Monster Hydro, whether it's Muscle Monster, incorporated into your life. You're going to hit that lull in the afternoon. Get the kick in the ass you need with Monster Ultra, 0 calories, 0 sugar. Get you the little pep in your step to get through the rest of your day and become accomplished. #Monster Podcasts.
Welcome to Cooperville. The Welcome to Cooperville podcast. On demand anywhere quality podcasts are available. And some places where cheap podcasts are available.
At the local gas station has some.
Subscribe, get updates, feel better about your life. Welcome to Cooperville.com.
Check.
Welcome to Cooperville. Make sure you use a coaster. The wife gets upset when we leave rings on the tables.
There is so much Wisconsin on this podcast. You know, I think there's a Liney's bottle somewhere in this studio. So welcome to Cooperville Podcast, proudly based in Wisconsin. It's Chris Kroeze, proudly based in Wisconsin. I mean, we throw a Packer flag up, you know, get some cheese curds. I think we're set. Bratwurst, we're set, man.
Yeah, we got it, you know.
We're 100%. Chris, of course, born and raised in the great state of Wisconsin. And I know that at some point, I did radio for 20 years. I know at some point we crossed paths because you were on the grind for many years before, you know, the world got to see you on The Voice. I know you're playing a ton of shows. You were all over the area. So I know that we crossed paths, but to go from playing shows in Wisconsin, playing bars, you know, playing, you probably played in a tent more than, you know, a lot of people can confess to. Hopefully they were heated if you played the winter shows, which
still do.
Yeah. So that's what it's all about, though, is remembering those shows. But then all of a sudden the world gets a hold of you on The Voice. And, you know, throughout the podcast, we'll talk about that journey. But for you, I mean, this obviously starts, this pursuit obviously starts at a very young age. You know, music finds its way somehow, some way into your life. You know, for you as a youngster growing up and getting the blessings of dealing with 4 seasons that we have here in Wisconsin, where do you first remember, you know, like hearing music? You know, what was being played as you were a youth growing up?
Ever since I was a little kid, my dad always had a guitar leaning in the corner of the basement, and we went camping a ton. And, you know, so it's definitely summertime sitting around a campfire, hearing my dad play. He didn't really sing or anything. He just played, you know, cowboy chords and old Willie Nelson songs and stuff. And, just that was kind of like, you know, I was fascinated by it at a very young age. And yeah, I mean, we'd always sneak down in the basement and go over there and flick the strings on the guitar, even when we weren't supposed to touch it.
I think I had those same rules. I was a very musical family. I mean, Wisconsin, very Irish. So instruments were always around. And that was, I believe, one of the cardinal rules is, now you see where Grandpa has the fiddle and he has the banjo and, Dad has the guitars and Uncle has this. And you're like, that's where they are. And you stay over here. There's like almost like a parameter around it. Like, if we could afford it, we'd had security, which is probably more cousins. But, and so you are obviously at a very young age. Music is a part of it, and not just the stuff you hear on the radio. You get that that kind of parental pass down of music. When do you first pick up the instrument? I should say that. When are you first allowed to touch the instrument without doing it under the cover of darkness in the basement?
My mom and dad bought me a guitar when I was 6.
Yeah.
And my dad put little stickers on the fretboard where my fingers were supposed to go, and just he started out with just one chord, and I just play that chord, and then a few days went by, and I'm like, all right, Dad, I got that one down, and he'd show me another one. So once I'd get that one down, then he'd say, now start switching from that one to that one, and back and forth, and let me know when you get good at that. And we just kind of slowly added. He showed me everything he knew, and like by the age of 7, I was kind of on my own path with it.
Calloused fingers, a lot of
very much,
pretty much since the age of 6. Hard. This man crawls up walls, just like a koala bear crawling up walls and stuff. When you
and then. I mean, my dad had like all these tapes, I found this drawer full of tapes, and it was Skinner and AC/DC and Guns N' Roses and, Merle Haggard and Hank Williams, Johnny Cash, all that stuff.
So a lot of guitar-based, music obviously influencing.
Yeah, Skinner and Chuck Berry were probably the two most influential things in my guitar playing.
Yeah, and there's, I think to have those kind of influences when there's all this music that's out there, all these genres that are out there, and you get to you get gravitated towards I want to call them the classics, but like the supreme, cream of the crop. When you talk about, Chuck Berry, phenomenal on all levels. You talk about the iconic, the iconicness that is Leonard Skinner, and so to be able to kind of that's going after the best. That's not finding the single flip cassette of the one hit wonder. That's going after the the cream of the crop in music in that genre. When did the voice your voice develop? As obviously the guitar sounds like that was the first weapon added, but as far as adding in that, like, hey, I can not only can I play the guitar, but I can play the guitar and sing, which is also a country song, I believe.
Yeah, that was my dad was a huge influence in my music, but he bought me like this little Beatles songbook with like guitar chords in it and had the words, and I was like trying to play along, and I was struggling to like keep where I was in the song, and he's like, well, maybe it'll help if you sing along with it. And I'm like, I'm not a singer. And he's like, well, if you're going to be in a band someday, somebody's got to be the singer. So you got to find out if that's you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just kind of started there, singing along with my guitar, and then, just singing along with the radio. I was a bedroom singer for a lot of years. I sang a lot, but never in front of anyone.
Is there the butterfly factor or a confidence,
confidence for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to go out and fail.
Well, we got rid of that. We got rid of that fear over the years.
A little bit.
You've gotten in front of a couple people here and there. When you first, and we talk about listening to radio, were there, for you, obviously you talked about the artists that you found. And again, you threw the Beatles in there as if Skinner and Chuck Berry, you're like, I'm just going to go Skinner, Chuck Berry, and the Beatles. That's how I'm going to, develop my skill and hone in on it. But for you, like artists that you ended up, I want to say, not emulating isn't the right word, but that you're kind of like, I kind of like that vibe, or I like that sound. Was it? It sounds like the upbringing was a lot, a very wide array
and
of music.
it kind of stayed that way for a long time. I liked Alan Jackson a lot. When I was like in elementary school, And then like early middle school, like Brad Paisley and stuff. But then like early middle school too, my brother was a drummer, and my brother was obsessed with Travis Barker from Blink.
Yep.
And if people don't know who Blink is, that's Blink 182.
Google it, kids. Use the Google machine.
You Google it.
Of course, now.
So I got really into them too.
Yeah.
Like I was obsessed with Blink 182, and we played all their stuff, and and then I think it was 2007. So I think I'm a sophomore in high school, and Zach Brown, his first album came out, and I was listening. You heard Chicken Fried on the radio.
Yep.
And in 2007, I didn't have a cell phone or anything. I didn't have internet at home, so it was like literally went to Walmart and looked through the CDs to find that Zach Brown album, and got it and listened to it, and I'm like, well, this stuff's all over the place.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is it. It just connected with me, and that it was it had country songs on it, it had bluegrass songs on it, it had rock songs on it, reggae, all kind of like funk stuff, just all over the place, and I was like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think as music has progressed, it's less, and there's a lot of people out there that are against the fact that music has become less genre specific. Like this music sounds like this, and this music sounds like this, and this artist, has this sound to them. But when music started to kind of evolve, and I think that's a good window in that 2005, especially in the country world. People were experimenting with a lot of different sounds, and I think that if you flash forward, to 2019, it is very prevalent that there's still some traditional country sound that blends in well to the radio. I mean, Garth may sing forever, and his music will reign kind of forever, but you got some hip hop elements in it. You have some pop elements in it. You do have some of that kind of Caribbean, sound to it. So, and Zach Brown, what a great influence for you, to somebody that kind of covers all of those things, and obviously tremendous voice, tremendous talents within the confines of that band. So that's a great one to gravitate to.
Yeah, I just kind of got lucky that that's the kind of music I liked, because that's the stuff that's important in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, like just the fact that like one of the first things I heard was like guitar heavy Skynyrd, and I was just like hooked on it. It's like that. I was just lucky.
And the fact that you did like the hard work, the dedication of going to a store and filing through CDs. I mean, there's a generation that it goes, I have no idea what those two just talked about. Like, what was CD?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't find out until like a few years had gone by. Like when we were in middle school, like there was a couple of kids like in 8th grade that had cell phones, but it was not common.
Yeah.
And, but I found out like when we got to high school, it's like everybody has internet at home, and I'm like, why don't we? Why don't we have internet at home? But yeah, we just never did. I mean, I don't even think we could get it. We lived out in the middle of nowhere,
right? Which
is perfect.
Yeah, I mean
my parents still don't have internet.
No,
isn't that funny?
But they have TV at least. They got reception. They were able to follow along on your journey a little bit. Now, when you go from getting all these musical influences, do you remember the first time that you talked about being in your in the bedroom, your bedroom voice or a closet voice, and all of a sudden being able to open that door and venture out and standing on a stage for the first time? Do you remember those emotions and where that was?
Definitely. Yeah, I sang over and over again in my room, and there was a talent show coming up at school in 8th grade, and I was like, I had mulled it over in my mind a million times, like I want to sing, and I told my music teacher at school that I was going to sing, and she just said, "Oh, that's great," And so, but I didn't tell my parents or anything, so they came to this talent show. Like me and my brother we played like, I think we played like Back in Black or something on just guitar and drums. Nice. And then I stayed out there. My brother left. I stayed out there and like walked up to a microphone. My mom about had a heart attack. Yeah. But yeah, it was nerve-wracking and scary. Just felt naked up there, It wasn't something I was used to. But it was well received. I've seen it back now, and it wasn't good.
It's not part of it won't be part of the documentary.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe without audio.
Yeah. Oh, they had the audio turned off on the camcorder here. No, it's fine. But so that's kind of we talk about a journey to someplace, and as I mentioned kind of in the open, this podcast has been a lot about overcoming and inspiring people to get out of the comfort zone. I think all of those things that you talked about are prime examples of that. Learning a guitar is a challenging thing. Some people pick things up and they really want to learn how to do something, or they really want to further themselves, and they get in, they maybe learn that first chord, they get that first blister on their finger, and they're like, I'm done. They don't understand.
And I'm kind of all or nothing in every aspect of life, Like, if I buy, like, a few years ago, I bought a bike, and I was just like, I love riding bike now. Then I'd go out and ride 40 miles at a time, and it's like, and then, I mean, with anything, if I started trout fishing, like, quite a few years ago now, and, like, I did that every day. That's the only thing I was going to do. So, I mean, music has always, like, been the main thing, but I'm very obsessive when I start something.
So you find you get introduced to a new hobby or new something you can envelop yourself in, and it's the foot's on the floor. I mean, the pedals all the way down and passing through the floorboards.
100%. Last fall, me and some friends started playing racquetball at the gym in Barron.
Nice.
And just stupidly obsessed with
it. Do you get all the gear too?
You know what? We haven't got the goggles, but I've been hit in the face a couple times, and I need to get the goggles
before the eye patch becomes part of the Kroeze look. See, 8th grade talent show, being on stage. Was there a point that you started to kind of say, this is where I can see my life going? And you talk about being a person who can, find something and become obsessed about it. And at that age, especially, because now you're entering into the high school years, a lot of different influences are kind of flying at you. You could very easily gravitate towards, nope, this is going to be my thing. But when did you know, between that window of, 8th grade and whenever it happened, that pursuing a musical, career, whether, however it started, but that was going to be something that you were like, this is going to be a part of who I am no matter what?
It was like, I think it was right before my freshman year, sometime in the summer before my freshman year of high school. I can't even remember how it went down exactly, but we got asked to come play at the VFW bar in Barron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we had like 4 guys in the band. And I think we walked out of there with like maybe $25 a piece. And I was just like, you know what? I just played music and got paid for it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I need to keep doing this.
What were the other members? What was that? Because usually there's a lot of people I think in bands that can be self-driven, but there's some people that could look at that and say, dude, we just made $25. Like, at this rate, we're going to make about $1,200 a year. And but obviously you have higher expectations in that, but for you to have that like aha moment almost and know that it's going to be a part of you, was there anything that got in your way after that? Was there
Not really.
No?
I mean, like, that kind of stuff. My brother was my drummer. Was a friend from high school that was a bass player, and a foreign exchange student that had just come. We had just met him. He played guitar with us. And I mean, like, the money thing, I mean, we didn't get allowance or nothing like that growing up. Like, we got money on our birthday and Christmas, and it was gone the next day.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, like me at 14 years old, to have $25, it was like, that's $25 I didn't have. And so that was good to me.
How long did that $25 last? Was that gone?
Oh, probably not very long.
No.
Yeah. I'm sure
on the way home.
I'm sure I spent it at the gas station on the way home or something.
So
go
ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was never really any hang-ups, It was definitely, in high school, talking to all like the student services and stuff, like looking at colleges and stuff. They're like, "What do you want to go to school for?" And I was like, "Well, music. If I have to go to school, we were told we have to go to college after high school."
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I went to I guess prior to that, like going to school thing, like in middle school, right after I started singing, I got super obsessed with like recording. Mm-hmm. And we had this terrible desktop computer that was like so slow you couldn't do anything with it. But there was like a movie maker on there, and there was a little spot, a tiny little part of the screen where you could like click record to record like audio overdubs. Mm-hmm. And I looked on the back of the computer, and there was a little plug-in next to the headphone plug-in that had a microphone on it. I'm like, well, I don't have a microphone, but I have headphones, so I plugged the headphones into the microphone slot, and the left ear acted as a microphone. And so I started recording a lot of stuff in that, and then I figured out how to like get the file out of there. And then my 8th grade music teacher had like a couple of Macs, like the old bubble screen Macs in the music room. And I think it was like one of the first versions of GarageBand that was on there.
Oh, nice.
And so we could record with that. And then, in high school, we had like an audio-visual room, and there was an iMac in the back there that had like the more current version of GarageBand. And I talked to the teacher into letting me do an independent study, and he bought an audio interface for me. And like a cheap mic. And so I just started diving into that. And then when it came time for like schooling, it was like I'd found this school in Minneapolis that was for audio production and engineering. So that's what I ended up doing. But it was a hard sell for a lot of people because they're like, you're going to, what's your backup plan? And I'm like, I don't have one.
Plan B, we don't need a plan A. We don't need no plan B.
This is it.
Yeah, it's all in. Like you said, you're a kind of find it and go at it 100%. So during all of this, you're finishing up high school. Obviously going on to some post high school education in that field. Are you still playing? You're still playing shows. Are you still doing stuff
the whole time. I started. After that first like bar show, we played a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we got out and we played all the bars in like Barron County for sure. I mean, we didn't get too far out. And it wasn't every weekend, but we probably did 3 or 4 shows a month, which was, it got to the point where we were making $100 a piece or something. And when you're in high school, you don't have any bills. You know what I mean? I never had a car. So I mean, it was $400 a month I thought I was doing pretty good.
Yeah. You got.
And then when I went to college, like I came home, I did about like I would do like 10 to 12 shows a month. Just on the weekends, I'd come back to Wisconsin, play the shows, and it was just barely enough to cover my rent.
What is this reality? I don't like this. I had to pay bills.
I know.
Pay rent.
I know.
Oh, so you're going to school. Where and I want to get to The Voice.
Yeah.
Where at that point before that possibility opens up or that avenue opens up, where's your dream state at? Like you are visioning yourself. Do you have that big, standing on a catwalk in front of 25,000 people, and just being that guy? I mean, are you, is that where your headspace is at? Are you kind of?
Yeah. I mean, I used to sit in the basement with a guitar late at night and watch just CMT music videos and like play along, like figure out the songs as they go and like that. I always wanted that.
Yeah.
And we'd watch the CMAs and those big crowds and just all that. Yeah, it was all definitely on my radar. I mean, none of it ever seemed obtainable. But once a year we'd have a fair or something where it was like you'd have an actual stage that you were on, and there might be like 500 people there. And to me, and at that point, like 500 was a huge crowd.
Yeah.
And it was, then it felt more real at those moments. Looking back, it was, very early on. But
yeah. So how does The Voice? How do you first kind of be made aware of the show? I mean, were you watching it, or was it, somebody else passed along to you?
We always watched American Idol growing up.
Yeah.
And like my parents were really into it, and then there's a million singing TV shows that have come and gone. But yeah, I mean, it was just I'd had a million people tell me that I should go on The Voice and do all that, and I honestly had very little interest in it, just because I don't know how real it is, and I don't know what it entitles, and a big part of not wanting to do it is no matter what anybody tells you, if I think I always played it off like, oh, I don't want to do that. That's dumb. But in reality, it was probably, I don't want to do that because it's scary and I could fail publicly.
Yeah. That's a real fear. And that's even getting to that level of it. I mean, obviously it's not just submit, hey, you're pretty good, we'll put you on. There's likely a long-term process that goes on. At any point of that, long-term audition process, there could be a point where you don't make it to one level. So there's not just one failure, there's getting that accomplishment, like, okay, now I'm on to this stage. Okay, and now I'm here. So the further along you get, it's almost like the bigger, the fall can be. But how do you then kind of step over the line, take the dive, and say, all right, I'm gonna take my swing at this?
It was actually funny. I didn't actually audition for the show.
Oh.
It was some friends of mine sent videos in, and I didn't know. Then I got an email asking me to come out and be a part of the blind auditions. And I mean, right away, my first reaction was, I said, well, what does it entitle? Where is it? How long is it? They're like, well, it's in Los Angeles. And I'm like, when? And they're like, well, you'd have to come out June 3rd. And then the blind auditions are June 29th. So you'd come out June 3rd and start preparing for the blind audition. And then we film them June 29th. If you make it, you go home for a week and come back in July for the next round. And then I'm like, well, how long is that? And they're like, well, it's all of July. And I'm like, what happens if I make it past that? They're like, then you stay until September and we film more rounds. And then I said, well, what's after that? And they said, you go home for 3 weeks in September and then you go back out there for the live show if you make it that far. And I was, in my brain, I had a full summer of shows booked, and that's my only income.
Right.
So I had to cancel around 100 shows to go and do that. And it was my first reaction was well, I can't. I have obligations. I have a family. I have bills. I can't do that. But so for that this was probably late April that I got this email. And then, I talked to my wife a little bit about it, and they just said they needed to know by the second week of May or something. So right after that, we started being super frugal and just putting every penny away that we could. Right. So if we do decide to do this, then we can at least survive while I'm there. And I talked to my wife and my family and stuff, and just said let's do it. Mm-hmm. And flew out there June 3rd and did the blind, made it. And then, after that, it's it's the battle rounds. Mm-hmm. So you're going up against another person on your team. And, you honestly don't know if you're going to get through.
Right.
And, that was filmed in July. And I made it through that. And then it's all right, staying for the knockout rounds. And then at that point, it was I was excited to go home because, every round of the show, it's man, if I could just make it on a team, that'd be great. Yeah. And then it's God, if I could just make it through the battles, I'll be happy with whatever. Then once you make it to that next one, you're oh, the knockouts. I got to make it through the knockouts, so I got to get to the live shows.
Right.
And then I don't know. It's just kind of it wasn't so bad right away, but when the live show started in the fall, it's a marathon because it's 2 shows a week, week after week after week.
I'm going to jump out from LA and bring you back into to Barron County, and tell me about your support system. Obviously, with your family, with your wife, with your child. That's when you're away, and you're doing, and trying to make this journey, stay further on this adventure. Obviously, on your list of whys, family is right there at the top. I think you've proven that and said that, over and over again, knowing why are you out here doing this? Obviously, you're passion driven. It's something that you have the skill set and the talent for. But tell me about their support from back here and the support of the community while you're going through, this constant, like you said, marathon, the back and forth, home and away, but tell me about how not only your family but the community really, helped you to get through, some of the more challenging times out there.
I mean, it was awesome. We're lucky to live where we do, and we've got family everywhere. I mean, if we didn't have family around, there's no way we could have done it, just because my wife was here with 2 kids, and it wasn't easy for her. That's for sure. But Yeah, I mean, none of it was awesome. You know, it sucks being away from home. If
Right.
you got kids, you know, it sucks when you're away from them. But just the family support and community support, and everybody stepped up and did everything. You know, not only to get me votes and stuff, but you know, just to just a lot of our close friends and family like really stepped up and helped my wife with the kids, and like would, you know, at least once a week like give her a night off.
Yeah,
So
that's important. It's very important.
Yeah. Well, because otherwise you go to work and you have kids, and then all weekend you have kids, and then you go to work and you have kids, and you go to work and you have kids, and you can lose your mind.
Yeah, real quickly.
Yeah.
So for you, jumping back out to LA, you know, and we talked about earlier in the podcast about being singing in the bedroom, doors closed, to obviously making it to a point where you were comfortable on stage. There's a difference in a lot of things between Los Angeles, California, and Barron, Wisconsin, and the surrounding communities. Even in the metropolitan area where I'm from, in Eau Claire, you know, there's some differences between here and LA. For you, going out there and being in that environment, and obviously being on a much bigger stage, not just necessarily stage wise, but the studio audience, having it in the back of your head somewhere that there's a handful of people watching at home.
Yeah.
And not.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a different world out there. It's just, I mean, every aspect of it. I guess the best way to explain like the different living conditions out there is the state of Wisconsin has just under 6 million people.
Yeah.
And LA County has surpassed 20 million people. The county. That's crazy.
Yeah. Perspective.
I mean, that's like taking all of Wisconsin and shoving it into, like, you know, Barron County. It's 6 million people in Barron. You know, LA County's huge, but I mean, there's 20 million people there. And it's insanity. I mean, I couldn't imagine living out there. It's just, you know, you get on the 405 freeway and it's take an hour and a half to go 15 miles. And here, it might take you 12 minutes to go 15 miles.
Right, yeah. It depends on which road you're taking. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it was kind of nerve-wracking with the cameras everywhere. You know, everywhere we were, there was cameras. And they're filming everything, and you never know what they're going to put in their compilation, I guess. So yeah, kind of weird. Once I got deeper into the show, like after the second or third live round, where we're down to like 8 people, I was already just like, well, at this point, whatever. Honestly, whatever happens, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. What was your, you know, when we go into something like that, what is your expect? I mean, obviously you have, you know, well, you didn't. Your friends had the, you know, they pushed you into the fire, and you obviously accepted the terms and conditions of jumping into that fire by going out there. But, you know, for you, when you get out there and you get through the, you know, the blind auditions, do you have like, I think you kind of mentioned that you kind of are just happy to be, okay, I'm going to get, now I'm here. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to get through this.
Yeah.
But even at, you know, when you're down to the, you know, the last 8, are you just, you're just like, I'm cool here. Like whatever happens. That was the mindset.
Honestly, yeah, wholeheartedly too. It was just kind of like, I remember standing up there on the last night with the final 4 people. It's just, I was like, how does this end up happening? Like, how did I get here? You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm from, you know, as far as like a lot of the country is concerned, I'm from the middle of nowhere, and there's not that many people here.
That may have been brought to the light on the show a couple of times. Like population what? Yeah. Oh,
3,400. Oh, okay.
Did they miss a 0 on the sign? Like,
you know,
2 zeros.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it was a ton of fun, but definitely weird.
Yeah. And especially, I think, because we all have, and they brought this to light on the show as well, and it's something that I think we who are kind of born and raised in Wisconsin, no matter what community, we all have this like we're different, but in a good way. You know, we have that kind of Midwestern, like, you know, ope. That's our thing. You know, we own that, and we own this, like, a kindness and a politeness and a caringness about us. And then you get out to an area where it's a lot different than that. You're obviously on a team and on a show with a bunch of different personalities from a bunch of different places in the country. Tell me about developing those relationships within your team as you go through this process. You're kind of all fighting for the same thing at the end, but you still, again, that Midwestern thing, we just kind of make friends with people as we go. We're like, oh yeah, we're going to be friends now. So tell me about those relationships that you made within the team.
Yeah, it's like I'll go back to, we were out there for the blinds. We got out there June 3rd, and we didn't film them until the 29th. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, we're all living, there's like 140 some potential contestants living in this hotel together.
Wow.
And everybody, we all know who each other are. We'd have these big meetings, and you're all like, once you make a team, it was just like you'd look at your team and be like, oh yeah, I've seen these guys around the hotel.
Yeah.
And then then you do all your filming together. So I mean, Team Blake's going to go in for interviews today at 5 p.m.
Right.
And we all sit there. So I mean, we spend a lot of time together. And there's some people that were just kind of went and did their own thing. I spent a lot of time in my hotel room, marketing on social media and working.
Yeah. And
a lot of people spent their time singing Kumbaya around the fire by the pool, which is fine. There's definitely time for both things, but I spent a lot of time working out there, and so I didn't get to know a lot of people until later on in the show. Mm-hmm. Just because I was out there, I was there working. Yeah. It wasn't a vacation. So, but yeah, I mean, I still talk to a few guys from Team Blake and stuff, and yeah, I mean, everybody was super nice. It was never a nasty competition. It was all like, we were all kind of in the same boat. Like, oh man, who knows who's gonna make what, Right.
Blake Shelton, your bowling brother from another mother. I saw the picture up on Instagram. By the way, if you don't follow Chris on Instagram, make sure you do so. What's that environment like with Blake? Clearly, you guys developed because you had a lot of getting the farthest and working with him a lot more as the show progressed. Instead of a larger group, obviously that group gets smaller and stuff. Tell me about the experience for you as a human, as an artist, and your relationship as it stands.
It was cool. Right away it was fun. It's just like, holy crap, that's Blake Shelton. Right. But we didn't really know him. Get to spend any one-on-one time with him until quite late in the show. Mm-hmm. Just because there's so many people.
Right.
And meanwhile he's filming this show, he's also flying all over the country on the off days and touring. He's got a place. He lives in Oklahoma, and he's kind of all over the place. And so I mean, it wasn't until later on in the show that we got to actually do some cool stuff. But he's a super nice guy. I mean, super down to earth, and not any different than anyone around here. And I mean, one good realization was after the finale, they have this big finale after party. Mm-hmm. Like a rap party,
Yeah, it's a rap.
And I asked him the day of the finale, I'm like, are you going to the rap party tonight? And he said he used to go, but he said he's not going to go anymore just because he said he goes there and it's it's open to the public, it's a big thing right downtown LA. And he said it just turns into, he can't, it takes him an hour and a half to even get in the door.
Right. Because
people come up, and it's then once he gets in, they put him in this table with ropes off around it, and then it's a zoo. And then he said, and then if he wants to go to the bar and get a drink, it's he's just gonna do pictures for 4 hours. And he's it's not that he's above it or anything, but it's just his life is crazy.
Yeah.
I think people in the limelight get a bad rap sometimes if they're not super social. And I mean, my life has gotten crazy, and I can't imagine what his looks like. I mean, there's times for me, if we go to Walmart, and it's fine. I love meeting people, I love talking to people, but there's times when it's all right, I just want I just want to go home.
I'm just here to get some necessities for my home, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, just having like that, just getting to see that side of like, he's got to escape, and he's been good. We've stayed in contact, like we text once in a while and stuff, which is really cool. Yeah, I mean, just I don't know. His life's got to be crazy, and he's treated me really well.
Right. What is one thing or one or two things that you really took from him as a coach, as obviously an artist who has had massive success? Just some of the core things that you learned from him about as you continue on your journey, on your path.
Yeah.
That you like, okay, that I got that now. I'm gonna make sure that I put this into how I operate, how I run my my career.
I think the biggest thing that I got was, I mean, Blake is Blake no matter where he is. Cameras on, cameras off. It's the same dude.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me, because it's like there's always this like persona of what you're supposed to act like on stage, and it's like, well, no, I'm gonna do me.
Yeah.
At this point, just because if you start acting like doing different things on stage than you would do in normal life, then you've got this persona to live up to, and it's just, I don't know. I think that was the biggest thing. Just literally be yourself all the time.
Yeah, I think when you live a life that's authentic, and I think you are just the real you, and your real life outside of the stage is the same life. They're the same human that you are when you're shopping at Walmart or driving through Quick Trip. Then there's no real pressure then to the controversy. If there's any controversy that ever gets brought up, it's always like, well, this is who I am as a person. This is how I behave. Yep. Anytime anybody asks you a question, you can answer that honestly, because you're like, well, no, this
right.
is,
you don't have to remember anything if you just.
You're like,
yeah.
Well, this is how that happened. So that's a huge.
And I'm not smart enough to remember things, so I got to stick with that.
Well, all that brain power is focused on music, bike riding.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, let's throw some kids and a wife in there, and this crazy last couple of years that it's been for you.
Yeah.
The show ends, and the whole state is watching, and obviously the whole country's watching, but this again, Midwesterners, man, we got a horse in the race, and we're just like glued, and there's voice parties all over the state, but you have that moment, obviously being up there in the top two, and you're standing up there under the lights. It's live. It's probably hot. Did you have? Yeah. Did you have the sleeveless? You should have had the sleeveless.
I did.
Yeah. See, he knows redneck through and through. That's awesome. But what's that moment like? I know that you had said when you got to that level of top 8. That it was like, hey, as far as we go is as far as we go. But you're in that. Is there a, what's that moment happens, and you were again Midwestern. We're so appreciative.
My whole thoughts at that finale when we're standing up there with just 2 people up there left, standing up there, and I'm literally the only thing that's going through my head is like, the good news is no matter what happens, I get to go home tomorrow. Like it's done. Like I was really excited to go home. My wife was out there. And I mean, I remember looking at her. She was in the crowd. Like when we cut to like commercial break before they announced the winner, I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Right. And I'm like, yeah, it didn't matter. I was super happy for Chevelle. Yeah. I mean, everybody that was out there deserved everything. Yeah. There were some crazy good singers that could sing circles around me in their sleep that didn't even make the show. It's kind of about what they want.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Getting to go home, tell me about that moment, because you're out there, that's the extended stay during the live shows, and to leave Los Angeles, to leave LAX, to fly in probably to Minneapolis and make the trip over back home.
One of the surprising things at the end was that NBC owns The Voice, and so NBC paid for all of our travel and stuff, and NBC couldn't afford a straight flight to Minneapolis for us. They had to send us through Chicago.
Well, so close to home. Let's go down to Illinois.
Yeah, and then like a 4-hour layover with 2 kids. Really fun.
Oh, man. It had been a long day the day before, and
here
we are at O'Hare, just living the dream.
Ugh.
But when you finally make it back home, and you're back in the less little less crowded space up there in Barron. How deep is the exhale that you take just to kind of
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was nice to come home. I mean, we live out in the country, and it's like I remember just going. It's winter time, but it's just like you drive in, like you drive into your own driveway, park your car, and like you don't have to get valet parking or something,
Right.
and there's not a million people. Everyone was like, "Oh man, this is nice."
And quiet. There's some silence
Yes.
there, and that's godsend right there. That just
I
peace
know.
and quiet, man. But since then, I mean, life continues to be crazy for you. And when we met in Chippewa Falls for their 150th celebration, you're doing 2 shows a day. I was like, wait, dude, like I wasn't aware. I knew that there was another festival going on nearby in Wisconsin. Again, that's what a 2.5 hour trip, which in LA gets you about 8 miles. So I mean, perspective. But you'd already done a show at that point, and you're coming up to headline that night in the rain. It's a long day, but smiling through the whole thing, and meet and greet with all the people, and kind of back at it, pounding the pavement. I mean, I'm watching all the socials, and it's constant shows. When it's not a show, you're always interacting, on social media with the fans, and really, keeping the train moving forward. I mean, what's post Voice? What's the life been like? Just nonstop?
It's been crazy. It's been really good. It's been a fun summer. We played a ton of shows, and it's a learning experience for sure, because these are different. It's a different level than I've ever done before. So I mean, it's finding out, what stuff works. And one of the biggest things is like keeping travel arrangements like planned ahead, because hotels get expensive the day before, and
can't do that again.
I mean, just learning how to run this thing. Yeah, I mean, and then just staying busy. Like I was in the studio yesterday, and then I'm going to Nashville. Actually, we're going to Montana next week, and then the week after that, I'm going to Nashville to write songs, and just keep grinding and keep pounding away.
Yeah, what's that? And I was going to ask what kind of the next phases are for you as far as music goes, and
writing,
putting it down.
It's been such a crazy summer. We did some writing on the road. We wrote some songs this summer and stuff. We're going to go down to Nashville and do some co-writes with some other people, and just get some new material, and then get back into the studio, probably in Nashville this winter.
Yeah. Do you find that as you're going through this process, and obviously doing some writing on the road, doing some writing before the show, that you've got a lot more in the tank as far as that writing creativity goes, because you've a lot of it, especially in a genre like country, that you experience so much.
Yeah, the more you experience, the more things you have to pull from, and we've experienced a lot this year. Yeah, it's been really good.
It's been a ride.
That's absolutely true. I mean, driving down the road and you see someone do something stupid on the road, it can spark anything. It's like you think whatever your road rage anger might throw out, like could be a cool line for a song. You don't
Wait
know.
a minute. I should put that in the notes on the iPhone.
Yeah.
Somebody put that down.
Oh.
I want to wrap on this. And again, thank you so much for the time and the stories.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
It's great to be able to really kind of walk along and experience that, what you've gone through, because it has been a whirlwind of, 360 some odd, days of this wildness. But what I wanted to do in the podcast is really show that segment of your life is just that. It's that it was a crazy ass part of it, but it all started, with around a campfire with your dad playing guitar, and that 8th grade talent show, and almost, giving your mother a heart attack. I'm sure she's still appreciative of doing that. But when you're up there, and even
by the way, she still gets nervous when I go to sing on stage. Yeah.
What about you? Do you still have a little bit of nerves? Are you kind of?
No, not at all. I love it now.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that got rid of that was like singing in the studio, because if you sing in the studio, like you're gonna sound like crap no matter what.
Yeah, I think I kind of realized that when we had our conversation, because you were literally just about to go on stage. It's the reason I came over to talk to you, because I never, as many times as I brought artists up, some are like, stay away, and. But so I wanted to make sure I don't want to touch your mic, make sure it's at the right height. But like you were just like, kind of going back and forth. You had the in-ear was on and you're chatting back and forth. And we kind of got off and talking about podcasts a little bit. No, how did you end up on this? And like so chill, so relaxed, not tense at all. And then just went out and brought it on stage. But getting back to my question, you're up and doing the voice. You're part of this, process, going through it, getting further and further, getting more exposure. Wisconsin is rallying behind you. You're standing on that stage, and then post voice, it's shows, it's always out going, doing 2-a-days. And the one thing that I thought about before this interview was there's some kid in Wisconsin that watched your story, learned about you, and kind of got like a kid from Barron County, a kid from Barron, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Population 3,400.
Yeah.
Has taken a passion, a drive, continuing to grow with, the guitar, vocally, took a chance, friend influenced slightly, to go out and step onto this huge national stage and a huge national spotlight in a very, very different environment. I mean, you want to talk about stepping on your comfort zone, walk down your driveway, Chris, and then go, nothing like this is Hollywood Boulevard. Nothing like this is downtown LA. But that kid goes, well, it has been done. There's a path laid forward for someone who has, a drive and a talent, and sometimes hard work can supersede that talent. If you keep on putting in the time and putting in the effort, you can go places that sometimes when people are sitting in their bedroom singing in the bedroom, they go, there's just no way. There's no way I can do it. But I think you really set this tone for an artist who, throughout that whole show, original to who you were. You were yourself on that stage, and somebody somewhere, and we'll know about him in probably 10 years from now, because he'll reflect on back, and seeing you. Yeah. Does that ever? I mean, do you feel that kind of like, I don't want to say not power necessarily, but the fact that you kind of paved a way for a lot of people to continue on with a path that they feel like they're driven to be in?
Yeah, I've never really thought about that, I guess. But I mean, if anyone can be inspired or anything, I mean, just that'd be great. I mean, that'd be awesome. Like just stepping out of the comfort zone is such a big deal. I mean, I've never made any headway and been comfortable while I made it. It's never happened, and it never will. If it's just like working out. If you want to get in better shape, it's going to suck for a little bit. Yeah. And then it's going to get a little bit better. Then it's going to suck more. And then it's going to get a little bit better. And I mean, that goes, even now, even with like our performances now, I mean, I'm constantly working on becoming a better performer and connecting better with crowds and talking, and having, the right things to say on stage and all that, and it's not comfortable for me. That's not my forte. Mm-hmm. But every night I go out there and make myself uncomfortable, and it gets a little easier every time.
Yeah, there's a clever T-shirt company out there, and their T-shirts say "Embrace the suck." You gotta embrace the suck, because if you can get past it, if you can get over not wanting to get out of your bedroom and sing, if you never take that step, if you just like, no, I'll do the guitar thing, but I'm gonna keep the voice, in this room of the house. The world doesn't get to experience, your journey, your path, your talents, your voice, your songs. So it's a really inspiring story, I think, of just what you said. Step out of the comfort zone, and then you grow, and then it gets a little easier. Then it sucks again. Then it's an ongoing process. You continue on that.
And it's constant. I mean, it's even like, even with music. I mean, I'm really good at playing songs that I know. Yeah. And do the things that you suck at till you don't suck at them anymore.
Awesome. Chris, my friend, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for the stories. And safe travels out to Montana. Best of luck in the studio. It's going to be great. Can't wait to see what the rest of the year. And then 2020, man, why not make it crazier than the last year has been? Why not?
Let's do it.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much. We'll have links to all of Chris's social media platforms in the show notes of the podcast. And again, thank you for the time. Best of luck. And if we don't catch up, happy Halloween, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, New Year. all those things. And here's to a good.
Yeah.
And you know what else he doesn't give up on? That beard, man. You're own that.
Yeah.
Man, that shit is on point. Loving it. Thank you for listening and being a loyal listener. If you are a listener and you are listening on whatever platform that you choose to listen on your iPhone, on your Android device, Stitcher, Spotify, we're on the iHeart app, we are on the radio.com app, and every other place that podcasts are heard. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. You can get updates every time we drop a new episode. Be in the know. Also, follow the podcast on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter. Just search Welcome to Cooperville. You'll find us. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Much appreciated. Also want to let you know to check out holisticremedies.net on the World Wide Web for all your CBD and beard oil needs. Use the promo code Cooper10 and get 10% off your order, holisticremedies.net.